garden tube family. This is Alondra on this beautiful, wet, cold, cool fall day in North Carolina, Zone 7B. We're in the Charlotte area. And today we're just doing our top fives, my favorite plants that have been tried and true and done well for me. And I have quite a so I'm doing the top five, but I also have some honorable mentions. And then beside the honorable mentions, like most of the plants I grow in my yard are just like my top plants anyway. But if I had to choose, then I'm gonna, you know, uh, basically grow things that I know a lot of other people can grow and that are tried and true, and that no matter what you do, they're gonna do well. And one of them is the hydrangea, whether it is the oak leaf hydrangea, the old-fashioned lace cap or macrophyllus, uh, or whether it's the newer varieties. They just, no matter what you do, these plants are tough. They look delicate, the flowers look delicate, and things like that. But this is a tough plant, and it gives you year-round interest, year-round. My oak leaf hydrangea, you can cut it down and just cut it to right here, and this is going to give me blooms again, all in the same areas. It's just one, unless I cut it down to like nubs, it's going to give me a show next year. There's a something growing through there, but I'm gonna have to pull that out. But anyway, so in the springtime, you get this beautiful chartreuse color. This is the little honey I was telling you guys about, and this I bought from Plant Delights. They are the first ones who cultivated this plant, this particular variety, and so I bought it when it first came out. It gets brown spots on the leaves with the more shade that it gets. Okay, the more sun that it gets, the more golden those leaves get. So you get that big bright chartreuse color. So in springtime, this is going to totally change colors. But right now, it's going to green, and then probably within the next, I say, few weeks, all the color of the leaves will be down to this nice rust red and bright red, and it's just going to be gorgeous. And then, of course, the seed heads or the flower heads dry up, and you can put them in arrangements. Right now, these are really dry, so I mean, if somebody wanted them for an arrangement, they could do so. But no matter what you do, no matter what time of year, hydrangea is like one of the top plants. And if I have nothing else in my yard, I'm gonna have hydrangeas. Um, Also, when you're talking about hydrangeas and you're talking about your top five plants, you got to think about everything from the just besides the way that it looks. You also have to talk about the fact that the plant, how well does it bounce back? So with hydrangeas, we're always talking about old wood, new wood, and how it grows. Okay, so let me put it like this: you really can't mess this plant up. If you say, I forgot what kind of plant this is, I don't know, I don't remember because you have so many plants or something, or maybe you just don't remember the rules, or you haven't decided to Google, and Google's on your phone, but okay. So even if you did that and you cut it down to nothing, that plant is going to come back. Okay, it may not give you as many blooms, may give you just a few, but it will come back, and it's not going to die because you cut it the wrong way or something like that. So this plant is just fabulous. And then even the lace caps, you still have interest. You still had a little petals going to that rose color, the flat head right there. I mean, you just can't do no wrong. I have cut these down to nothing like 2 years ago, and they came back and gave me all these plants, all these flowers and stuff. And look at each one is so different. Look how that one is. And I think this one got a brunt of when my husband cleaned off the deck and all that stuff came over and the leaves got all beat up and everything. And the plant still did this. And then this one is probably the oldest lace cap. And look at that. It's just, I don't see how anybody can not want hydrangeas in their yard. How can you not? These things are freaking amazing. And so probably with this plant, because it is old fashioned macrophylla, I may cut it back a little bit. But right now, everything's gonna stay there until those leaves like start to fall off on their own, and then I will cut it back some, and then I'll clean out the leaves from around it and bunch them up just so that they can get the nutrients from the leaves and get the protection. Because at some point, it's probably gonna get kind of cold, right? Um, Let's see here. Oh, my next ones are up front. So let's go up front. We don't have Coda out with us today because he's so bad. Come on. And mainly because it's wet and nasty out here. So this is the hydrangea that's getting ready to come down, y'all. It's dropping its leaves. It says it's that time of year. It got too cold for it. But then my husband's about to put some herbicide down and get rid of the thing. So I have to get on it with these plants and pull these two out of the ground. But anyway. So the next plant that is on our list is the Daylily. And so I know a lot of people, when they think about daylilies, they think about just the Stella d'Oro. Come on around. Nosy neighbors out. Okay. So if we're looking at daylilies and you look at the kind of scraggly, the Stella d'Oro daylilies coming out in yellow. And that's the one that everybody sees. And everybody's like, oh, no, nobody want those. You see them everywhere. They're just, these plain old plants. They only bloom, a certain time of year. And a lot of people are just tired of looking at them. But daylilies are tough plants. They have colors that range from the whitest white down to the darkest purple. The best one I ever had was the Bella Lugosi daylily. I bought that in Chicago when I was visiting my mother. And they just perform over and over and over. You can get reblooming varieties. You can get the big varieties. I had some growing in the big middle bed that was about, I think they got about 4 feet. They're massive. And so you don't have to get the ones that only grow to 18 inches. You can get ones that grow to 3 feet or 2 feet. You can get any color that you want in daylilies. And they're just going to do fantastic in your yard. They're double blooming, single blooming. You just can't go wrong with daylilies. So that is number 2. And like I said, you can cut them any old kind of way. I mean, you cut them down to nothing. You don't even have to think about how you cut it. You just cut it. Okay? Let's see here. Coneflowers. Let's go around this way. That plant's good on time. I gotta feel so much. Okay. So when we think about coneflowers, we don't see not a coneflower. We see those little twigs right over there of coneflowers. And to me, coneflowers are the same thing as daylilies in their toughness and their ability to come back every year. There's not too much you can do to kill them, even when it's someone like me who takes forever to put them in the ground, because you're going to have those leaves that pop up and maybe the flowers don't do too well. So you have to cut them down or whatever. But this has healthy leaves, right? And these are actually fairly new. So what's going to happen is I'm going to cut that down probably next month sometime. And then that plant is going to come back twice as big next year. And it's going to be fabulous. Coneflowers are very tough plants. They draw hummingbirds. They draw regular birds, mainly finches. So I don't know if you know that. So these seed heads in the fall, typically right after they finish blooming, if you leave the seed heads and you don't deadhead the plant, the actual finch will sit on top of here and just pick the seeds off. And so they can feed the baby birds and feed themselves. So a lot of times when you're at the end of the season, and if you're not taking those blooms and you're not trying to get more blooms, just leave the seed head so that those birds can take it. Okay, and plus they draw butterflies and other pollinators. Let's see here. So that coneflowers, what? That was number 3? Mm-hmm. Number 4, peonies. Okay, so come on up. So we have peonies over there. Yeah. Okay. So when we think about peonies, this is just some kind of vine. I'll pull that out. So these are peony leaves right here. And the peony that's growing here with this tree that's trying to grow through here, I'll cut that back later. Um, and it has these rudbeckia, which are like, to me, they're not in the coneflower family officially, but it's the same thing. So I just include that in my list. So, but the peonies, I'm gonna cut that down. Um, I know in like a video or two ago, I was like, yeah, I'm getting ready to cut them down. I'll cut them down eventually. So peonies uh, will outlive me. Every peony I have in my yard will outlive me. They live for 50 years. I've known some have grown and lived for 75. And so if a lot of people have family members that say, oh yeah, my grandmother gave me her peony, from when she first got married and stuff like that. These plants, to me, as far as division, I've never divided any. I have moved them a few times. And so sometimes you may not get as many blooms because it's like, oh my God, you just moved me. I really like my spot. But peonies, to me, I've never had an issue with them moving. They've never just died on me for no reason. I never have a problem with transplanting. I think as long as you give them a good spot with good soil and the right right amount of sun, the right amount of water, that they're going to do just fine. So peonies is my number 4. It's a great plant, every color in the rainbow that you can possibly want. Um, and they're just to me, they're tough plants. I don't know who said that they were not easy to transplant. I had heard that when I first started buying them, and I've never had an issue. So I don't know what they're talking about. Now this next one is going to probably get me in trouble. And I don't have any that are okay. Well, we have this rose over there. So the rose over there by the love sign. So roses. I know I'm going to lose some of you right here. Roses are actually very, very easy to grow. They're not hard to grow as long as you give them sun. If you give them sun and you water them, roses are going to constantly give back to you color, blooms. If you keep deadheading them, they will come back. Okay, they're going to just keep blooming until the end of the season, until they don't get the sun that they need. So like it's fall, it's cooler now, so of course my roses aren't going to bloom like they normally would, but roses keep giving back to you constantly. And so roses are very easy. You just don't get the hybrid tea versions. Those are the ones that are hard to grow because you have to constantly spray and tend to them and nip them and, apply fungicide and herbicides and pesticides and every side you can think. And those are very hard to grow unless you're in Texas or Arizona, which I've grown them there and been very successful, but that's because it's a drier heat. Um, but in the Carolinas, it might be a little bit more difficult because we're so humid here. But otherwise, if you're from Texas on west, you can grow roses and you should have no problem. I can't see you having an issue. I've grown roses in pots from the $3 roses from Walmart, and they've done really well. So to me, roses are just very easy. Every color, every size, every shape. If you're doing hedges, if you're just doing for a specimen or whatever, roses are your go-to. And I'll give you some honorable mentions that I have. Lilies, which are different than daylilies. Lilies are those ones that's in the pot. They go straight up, and it has like you have just a few, like 3 stalks of flowers, and those are bulbs, and they come up in springtime, and they're tough plants, and they give you such great scent. And there's a difference between lilies in Asiatic lilies and Oriental lilies. Oriental lilies are the ones that give you the scent, and so you'll notice a difference because it has little spots on the leaves, which are for scent and things like that. And then you have the Asiatic, which are smooth petal. Um, and it'll tell you when you go to buy them what kind of lilies they are. But lilies are tough bulbs. And I put those in the same category with, actually most bulbs are actually very easy. Daffodils. You plant those things and they will come back every year. I've had daffodils in my yard for 20 years and it's been the same ones. Oh, there's that black cat. Look at it. Bad kitty. Don't make me bring Coda out here. He's always on our alarm system. I'm like, what is that? Oh, it's a cat. Nah, get. Bad cat. Okay. Coda's mad. The next one I have is Sedum. Uh, and that is the like Sedum Autumn Joy and that whole variety of plants. They're a succulent plant, and you hardly have to water them. They give you great accent in the fall. Some of them do start blooming in the late summer, early fall, and they just give you actually interest all season long, that they last, because those flower heads do draw pollinators. Hummingbirds like them. I told you hummingbirds are greedy, so they don't just need tubular flowers. They just want everything. And plus, they're territorial. So, Sedum Autumn Joy, Japanese maples, which are trees and shrubs. And those actually they're just amazing to look at. Like, I don't see how you could not like Japanese maples. And you can get them in any size. They come really small. You can do them as a bonsai. If you have a balcony, you can put one on your balcony. I'm just saying, Sid, I think you should get one. Anyway, and then also crepe myrtles, which is right there. That beautiful specimen right there. I prefer to have, go ahead and look at it, because now it's got its fall leaves on. And crepe myrtles are just absolutely wonderful trees, and they can grow quite tall, and they can live quite long. I've seen 100-year-old crepe myrtles at J.C. Rawson Arboretum in Raleigh, and they are awesome. And so, of course, they have the seed heads, and you don't have to do anything to a crepe myrtle. I just want to put out there with crepe myrtles to not murder them. There is if you look it up, it's crepe murder. And that's when people literally chop the tree in half because maybe it's overgrown for a spot or whatever. But the thing is, do not cut on these trees. They don't need to be cut. If you put this tree in an area and it's getting overgrown, then you just need to pull the tree out. Don't sit up there and kill it, like my husband did with the one on the corner. Go ahead and get a view of that. That's a crepe myrtle over there. You see, right? Yes. You see this right here, right next to your car. Just go ahead and zoom in on that puppy. You see how he cut that in half? That tree is 25 years old, and my husband cut that in half because he couldn't have the view. And then Duke Power did it first, and then he did it second. So they both make me sick. Watch out, I guarantee you stepping too. But of course, this is a deciduous tree. This will drop its leaves, but look how pretty these leaves are. Look how pretty and red that is. It's just awesome. I really love these trees, and they have interesting bark, most of them. This one doesn't have a peeling bark like the other one I used to have, the one that's sitting next to Sydney's car. But it still has beautiful bark nonetheless. You have different shades of just rusty brown on there. The little seed heads from the flowers. And they're just amazing. I need to go ahead and take that tag off, because the tree's getting bigger. Yeah, but those are my top fives. And Sydney, have you thought about your top fives?
Yeah, but I was gonna film it later so they could see it.
Oh, so you can see it at your place?
Yeah.
Whatever. So Sydney's gonna do her top fives, and are you gonna connect it onto this video?
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have all our top fives on there. So I can't think of any other plants. I mean, there's probably a lot more, like butterfly bush is always a great plant. There's some things about it that I don't like. But as far as my top fives, I think, I'm thinking about perfection. Now, this thing keeps giving off beautiful new growth. Look at this. Look at that. That is just amazing. That is just amazing, isn't it? Look at all that new growth. And that's in cooler temps. Can you imagine what it's going to do next summer? This is just amazing. And this thing has grown twice in size since we put it in the ground. So I'm just glad that you all are here with me at the beginning of the yard, the garden, and seeing what it's doing. Even that little sprig of Black Knight has, ooh, okay. We have a friend. Yeah, Cindy, don't step on him.
I didn't see him.
I wonder if I put a rock on him, he's gonna get mad at me.
Stop it.
I would pick him up, but I don't want him to bite me.
Bye, guy. Bye-bye.
I know. He got some nerve. Where you go? Oh, okay.
He's leaving.
Okay. And that's it for my top 5. Our next video, we're going to be talking about our November chores, which that's going to be a very short video because it's November and ain't nobody trying to do no work. Okay. So if you guys have any top 5s, list them in the comments and let us know what you think of your top 5s. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Tell all your friends about this channel because by next spring we're going to be up and jumping because we're going to have a lot of work to do because this is getting ready to happen in the next 2 weeks. And I really wanted to plant bulbs, but I think it's going to be too late. I think I might be able to, but trying to get access to bulbs, you know, and I just don't know when all of this work is going to be done. So I don't know because all of that is going to come up and then I'll be planning stuff. So that is a whole nother project for next spring, hopefully early next spring. I want to lay the groundwork in December. I don't know. So, and I did post a picture on my Instagram of what this corner used to look like with all of the lilies in it. Or irises, I'm sorry. Irises and the roses were in that corner forever. But, you know, with the fence going in and all that stuff, all of that changed. So I think I'm going to go back to that because just the look of it and looking at that this morning when I posted that picture, and I was like, oh, why can't I go back to that? So I think I am going to do that and just have a mass planting like I used to do of certain plants that I just really love. And irises actually should have a, I didn't even mention that in my, okay, did I not mention that?
No.
I'm so sorry. I offend myself. Okay, so this is the 5th honorable mention, y'all. I'm sorry. I don't know why I didn't think of this because I have them everywhere. Irises. Let's take a look at that, shall we? Irises. I'm so sorry. Okay, so I'm pretty much like the iris queen. I have had hundreds of irises in my garden. And I've always had like hundreds, like literally, like maybe I've had, you know, 7 or 8 varieties, but I've had hundreds at a time. And just to think that I didn't even have irises on my list, which is probably the easiest plant next to daylilies to grow. Irises, you don't even have to plant deep. You really can't make a mistake with these plants, except planting them too deep. And then even if you plant it too deep, you're going to get this nice interest with the leaves. And look at that fan leaf. And you don't even have to cut on them or do anything. You don't have to deadhead them. You just let them go. And then in spring, what's going to happen is, or over the winter, those leaves will probably, you know, die back a little bit depending on how brutal your winters are. But what's going to happen is they're going to come up and they're going to be so green and thick. And you're just going to see that flower come up through there. And it's just going to be amazing. The color that you get. And my color on my plants lasts forever. And then they do have reblooming varieties of the irises. So I think I'm going to have to save these and maybe put them over there in the corner. And I think that may be what we do because, you know, we're putting the trees here. So those will go up in a couple weeks after the holidays. I'm not going to do that before, I don't think. Maybe not. But anyway, so that's it. This is not an honorable mention. I'm going to just have my top 5 be, okay, yeah. I'm going to leave that as an honorable mention. It breaks my heart to do so, but yeah. So anyway, that was it. Make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe, all that stuff that they tell you to do, and tell everybody about it. And that's it for today. And I'll see you guys next time.
Okay, so we are out on the apartment garden in our limited space. Plants line the corner all around here. I have moved a lot of the plants inside. But since Mom did her top 5, it's time for me to do my top 5. We're not going to talk about the tomatoes because I'm still fighting them. They're not in my top 5. I have so many problems with tomatoes up here. But I think number 1, we'll come back to this baby. Number 1, I'm going to sit next to it because I have to propagate them soon. Oops, and I'll do a propagation video next week. Hopefully it doesn't get too cold for them, but you can see them, they're gorgeous. Are the calais plants. So you see all those fresh buds right there? I actually might pick this one off and go ahead and propagate it. They're super easy to propagate, but that's definitely my number 1, these flowers. I have not seen butterflies up here, but hummingbirds really love these, and they get super aggressive. Like I think my mom mentioned about, they're just greedy, so they get super aggressive. So Calais, they come in so many varieties. This is one I propagated last year. These are 4 separate plants. They were this really, that bright green color you see down there, they were that color. And as they've gotten bigger, these ones have actually not flowered for me this year, but do you see how big and lush? They were literally like the size of like maybe that little stalk, and all 4 of them were in there, like all of this. So Calais is definitely number 1. They come in these pretty like burgundy and green colors, the more watermelon colors. I have already moved one of them inside that's a more burgundy color, but I'm going to also propagate these because I definitely want to keep this. So next we will move, and I will get up because there's already one inside, but I have to move at least one more inside. It's probably going to be the one in the pink pot, but it's the wandering Jew plant. Alora is out here with me. The wandering Jew, I always forget the actual scientific name for it, but I love these plants. I pretty much have accidentally propagated this. Like, this was the original plant. I propagated it like 3 times. The big one that's in the house right now, I like completely tore apart like one section. I was like, oh no. And I was like, I wonder if I stuck this in some dirt, if it would like, you know, like start to bloom. And the actual, I'm trying to see if I can find one. Let me let Laura in real quick because she is pitching a fit. Here you go, Laura. So we have this nice little screen to keep them in, but they are trying to eat the plant, so I'm not letting them out right now. But yeah, I was trying to see if I could find, so when the watering Jew plants, when they have buds, they're like kind of like curly and they look like little knots, and then they kind of flourish like this. I don't know why they're 2 separate colors because they're sitting in the same spot. I don't know if this is because this is the older plant and more mature plant, or the nutrients in the soil make it different, but I'm going to keep this one. I might have to propagate it considering it's so big because I don't know where I'm going to put it if the cats can't get to it, but we'll see. I'm going to check it for any pests before I move it, but I don't want to get too much colder because the first experience I had was killing my friend when I tried to, because I didn't move it inside fast enough, and she, like, we hadn't been paying attention to it, so by the time it was, you know, time to move it in like November, it was like too late and it got too cold and it died. So I will probably move this one in next. The frogs also like to hide in here, so I have to be really careful that I'm not disturbing any life. So number 1 is our Archelaeus. Number 2 are these gorgeous wandering Jew plants. Number 3, I just got this baby this year. So this is my Fiddle Leaf Fig. I literally stuck it in a pot, started watering it, kept the soil moist, and left it in this spot. I was like, it needs probably a little bit of shade, but it'll get enough sun, and this is what it's done. It was probably about to here when I originally got it. It was very short, probably to where the plant stand is, and that's how much it's grown. And it's still growing even in this cooler weather. I have to check to see if I have to move this one inside, but if not, it will stay out here. But if I have to move it in, then I will find a spot for it because this thing is absolutely gorgeous and I absolutely love it. So definitely the Fiddle Leaf Fig, very low maintenance as far as just like if you have a limited space, it's a lot easier to just kind of water it periodically. And I have a moisture meter that I got off of Amazon for very cheap. To stick it in to make sure it's not too moist. But I kind of just like look at it, and if the dirt looks like wet, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to water that for a while. So it's got these gorgeous green leaves, and then they get darker as the leaves get older. So these are the darkest of them. These are slightly newer, and then you have these, which is that pretty like chartreuse color that my mom always talks about. Before I go to honorable mentions, because I do have a few, we're going to come over here. I'm actually surprised that the dill is growing this year, but that's not my number. Is that 5? We have 5 now, y'all. 1, 2, 3. To figure out. 4 is probably going to be my basil. I had to put an herb on the list. You know me, I love to cook. I love to make fresh pesto. That has been the thing that I've been making for the last like month or so. We started experimenting probably in summer with it, and we've gotten just better at it as time has gone on. The basil has these really pretty, depending on which, it's sweet basil. There's a few varieties I have in here, but it has this pretty purple flower, or buds that end up blooming a very light color. They come in so many varieties, and these are actually grown from seed. So these were botanical interest seeds. I think they were like maybe $3. It might have been 2. And then I just stuck them in this pot and kind of let them do their thing. Made sure they were watered enough. And I pick these off all the time. I already moved one of the basil plants. If you remember, there was one here. I moved that one inside. And now it's time for me to probably pick this all the way down, make fresh pesto with it, freeze it, or just freeze it in some olive oil, and that'll help feed us through winter as far as like having to have those herbs in it, that fresh taste. I've realized over the last year that I really love fresh like flavors. Just there's something about how much brighter the flavor is when it's fresh. So I highly recommend, if you are into I want to grow my own food, start with your herbs. They're the easiest things. I'm still, as you can see, fighting the tomatoes, which that tomato got too heavy and now it's down there, but that's another story. But yeah, definitely basil number 4. Then I think, see, this is hard. So I'm going to make it an honorable mention because I had a lot of fighting with this, which if you've seen seen the videos with me in them, you already know what that is. But I think I'm going to go to mint. So if I'm cheating the system a little bit, number 5 is the various types of mint. I have 3 out here right now. So we have spearmint. This one is my oldest mint. I think I've had this thing for literal years now. And I propagated it all the time and then replanted it and just let it kind of flourish throughout the year. I'm going to check and see if this one is like frost tolerant. And actually, I think I can pull up the... I'm probably going to have to look it up. But yeah, spearmint, it was like probably $2 or $3, but just like look at them and it tastes so good and it's so, again, fresh. I love a fresh herb like all day, every day. So there's a spearmint, and yes, it's probably too big for the pot because that's why it's growing all spindly. I'd never known that mint could grow like this until I started growing them, and then I was like, why is it growing like that? I think it's too big for its pot. It's okay. But then we come over here, and I have 2 other mint plants. So I think I had a 4th, but I can't remember what it was. That's besides the point. So right now, this is our mint mojito. If you did not know, my favorite alcoholic drink is a mojito. I have loved them for years, and now that we like have mint mojito here, I often request when my boyfriend, who I like to be like my personal bartender, to make our mojitos with this, and it's just so good. Yeah, it's so easy. Like, you just make sure the soil is moist and kind of let it do its own thing, which is why they're growing like they're growing. Like, see this one? Where is it going? Where are you going, friend? But this is the orange mint. It does smell citrusy, and I can smell it now, and I haven't even like pressed the flowers or the leaves or anything. It just smells so good. So if you really like fresh smells in your house, or you just like mint in general, I know some people don't, mint is a really easy herb to grow and maintain, especially if you have a lot of light. So my honorable mentions are probably, so my mom talked about the iris. I do actually have one in the pot over there, but that's actually not my honorable mentions. I was gonna put the lily in my top 5. Mom already did that, so hello, Laura. Do you see her? So we're gonna talk about honorable mentions. There are lilies. Honestly, I just let them do whatever they want. These both have come back every year. This is the plantain lily I got last year during the pandemic. Comes back every year. And then the Stella de Oro lily with that bright yellow flower. I think it's a daylily, yes? Yep, because we know there's differences between plantain lilies, daylilies, all the lilies. Oriental, Asiatic, I think. There's just a lot, but again, super easy plant. They're fine in the pot. I have not moved that one. I think this is the first time I moved it into a bigger pot and just left it, and it's been like, okay. The only problem I have is that the cats try to eat it. So if you have pets, you might want to put the lilies up higher up, just because they will try you and you'll be like, excuse me, no, don't touch my lilies. So next would have to probably be, another honorable mention would have to be the trees. So I have plenty of trees. So let's start here. These with the bright, pretty leaves on them, on that new growth. And I don't know why there's a piece of plastic in there. But there are like 3 trees in here, and I need to break those up. These are lemon trees. I grew these from seed, actually, like store-bought. And I was like, I wonder if I could grow these from seed. Stuck the seed in some dirt and was like, we'll see. I'll put 3 in here just to see if they grow. All 3 grew. And I was like, well. So we have 1 here. We have 3 here. There's another one that's in the house in one of these pretty blue pots, like these gorgeous, like teal cerulean colored pots. But this one is like the tree that like everybody wants, and everybody's like, how did you do that? This is actually not the first one. I'm gonna show you the first one just because I'm gonna out myself, so you're not like, I can't do that. Yes, you can. This is my first tree. Do you see what is happening here? What? Are you okay, bud? Like, do you need help? I don't. This is the first avocado tree that I was able to actually get to like grow basically the foundation. It got really strong roots, and then I stuck it in a pot, and this is what it did. It got mad. I I kept the water moist. I did everything I usually do with the fiddle leaf, and it was like, no. This is it's not actually my second attempt, but it is my second, like, I would say like semi-successful one, and this one's actually super successful. I was not expecting it to do this. So this is my second avocado tree. I have to see if I have to move this in, but I think I might be able to just use some leaf coverings and be done with it. But of course, no avocados on it yet. It's not big enough for that yet, but the idea is that like I will move this with me every time I move, and it'll continue to get bigger and bigger until I can have avocados. So I'm building the foundation now, which is super important to me. But yeah, those were pretty much my honorable mentions, my top 5. So again, Coleus in the corner, Wandering Jew, Fiddle Leaf Fig. I'm just obsessed with that tree. Like, come on, look at it. Okay. 4 is my basil, and 5 are all these mint plants because I have a problem. Then our honorable mentions: the Daylily, Stella de Oro, plantain lily. I think it's called an almomarginata. I got flowers the first year, and that was pretty much it. Then we have, lemon trees and that beautiful avocado tree next to the fiddle leaf fig. I just feel like these 2 are best friends, and they like being beside each other, and they do really well beside each other, so I'm just gonna let them hang. But yeah, that's pretty much it. We're not gonna talk about my other non-success stories right now, but I'm actually really proud of how the garden, how lush and beautiful everything was this year, and hopefully I can bring a little bit more of that into next year before we move, so that I'll have a lot of good foundation. And then by the time we move, like, I'll be able to see, okay, how much space are we gonna have? Like, what do I need to give away? What do I need to like trash? Like, what's not actually doing well? What won't do well? Can I give that away to somebody? All of that. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Hope you enjoyed this entire video. As always, like, comment, share, subscribe. As my mom said, we want as many subscribers as possible. Her goal is 35, so I say let's blow the goal out of the water. We're already doing that organically because I have not been promoting this anywhere. So yeah. Bye.